brother! Quick warning you guys, this video will contain spoilers for Captain Marvel. You have been warned. Captain Marvel has finally done it. They have introduced the Skrull into the MCU, which basically calls into question the true identity, motivation, and death of every character just ever. The Skrull, in case you are unaware, are an alien race which have the unique ability to transform into the appearance of other people. And of course, they introduced this new race to us just months before the big finale in Endgame, which can only mean one thing: somebody is a Skrull. Hey, wanna come see Endgame with me and Ben and then hang out and chat about it afterwards? Well, guess what? You totally can. We are doing 4 movie meetups this year. We're gonna be doing Endgame, The Lion King, Frozen 2, and Toy Story 4. Dates for all those should be on the screen right now, and links to purchase tickets, which are on sale now, are available in the description down below. Okay, so the really cool thing about the MCU version of the Skrull is the complete side swapping they seem to have done. Typically, in the comics, the Skrull are represented as villains, but in Captain Marvel, we meet a whole new version of this alien race who are essentially refugees. They can be dangerous and do issue out some threats at some point, but really their whole race has their backs against the wall. They're just doing what they have to survive. But I bring that up because if in fact a Skrull is masquerading as an Avenger, I'm betting they're not doing it maliciously, like they're actually trying to help, but I'm sure it will still cause quite a bit of controversy if they're revealed. But so the obvious question is, who could it be and what does that mean? Could they use that person to trick Thanos? Does it mean someone we saw die is actually still alive? Well, fortunately, we aren't exactly flying blind here. Captain Marvel did give us a few rules and guidelines to follow when trying to identify a Skrull. First off is their short-term memory. When a Skrull takes on the appearance of another person, they're able to convincingly act like them because they also inherit some of their most recent memories. But that does mean you could stump a Skrull into revealing themselves if you can get them to try and answer a personal question about their past. Like, for example, how you take your toast. Personally, I like mine cut horizontally with butter and peanut butter, a combination I personally invented when I was 6. You're welcome, planet Earth. Next, we also learned that Skrulls copy people all the way down to their DNA, so you couldn't reveal who they are with just a blood test or something. But where that gets interesting is, even though they copy down to the DNA, they cannot copy someone else's powers, just their appearance. So you'd think whichever Avenger they might be impersonating doesn't have any inherent powers, because that would be such an easy way for them to be given away. Also, small caveat, there are certain Skrulls that can copy powers. Those are the SuperSkrulls or the War Skrulls, but since we haven't met any of them yet, I don't think they're just gonna spring that on us in Endgame as some big plot device. And finally, the Skrulls need to have seen the person they are impersonating, which really doesn't seem like much of a hurdle because most of the Avengers are like pretty worldwide famous and have been seen by everybody. And those are the rules, so buckle up, we're gonna apply them to every single character from Ned to Tony Stark to find out who's a Skrull, no, I'm just kidding. That would take forever. But fortunately for you guys, we have already narrowed the list way down to our top 2 contenders. First up, Rhodey, aka War Machine. Rhodey was literally the first character I thought of when we walked out of the theaters. He fills all of the requirements as well as a few extracurriculars. Like, first of all, he doesn't have any pre-existing superpowers. He just knows how to fly the War Machine suit, and he's not even the one who knows how to build it, which to me sounds like it'd be pretty easy for him to conceal himself as long as he knew how to fly the suit. And my assumption is that's the sort of thing you could keep in recent memory, and then if you're a Skrull, once you've actually used that memory to fly it, then you just have that ability yourself. Plus, I'm not even sure how hard it is to learn how to use the suit, because like we see Bruce jump into the Hulkbuster armor in Infinity War and he does okay, like, you know, most of the time. I'm okay. Plus, it'd be pretty easy to spot Rhodey to copy him because he's always on TV making announcements and such for the Air Force. Speaking of the Air Force though, I'm also gonna go ahead and say that just being black and associated with the Air Force is another few points in his Skrull category. Mainly because the crew of Skrulls that touch down in Captain Marvel pretty much quickly befriend a black family who was associated with the Air Force. Which might not matter too much, except that Monica Rambeau happens to befriend the little girl Skrull and really wants her to stay on Earth. The other thing about Rhodey is we don't know that much about his past, so it wouldn't be that hard for him to fool us, the audience. And also actually, if Rhodey is a Skrull, you'd have to wonder, where's the real Rhodey? Well, I submit to you that it's possible he's dead. Like, not for nothing, but do you remember that scene in Civil War where he gets blasted by an infinity stone and then free falls 1,000 feet to Earth? Yeah, it has always really bothered me that that did not kill him, but great news, maybe it did! Perfect time for somebody to swoop in and pretend to be paralyzed from the waist down for a few months before making a full recovery, am I right? Going outside the MCU a bit, War Machine also happens to be like the main Avenger that Captain Marvel interacts with in the comics. So what better way to transition him into her new line of movies? Not to mention, Endgame will be Don Cheadle's 6th appearance as Rhodey, and 6 appearances is the standard contract for Marvel actors. And if it turns out that he's been a Skrull this whole time, well, then that would be a pretty interesting opportunity for them to recast someone as the same character and keep War Machine around moving forward. I don't know, just feels like there is a lot going for War Machine to have been a Skrull. But if he was, my one tiny hang up is that at the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel, you'd think then he would recognize her symbol on the beeper, right? Maybe, but fortunately we also have a second option. Nebula. Oh man, this one is pretty fun, and it helps explain maybe the dumbest line in the entire movie of Captain Marvel. Right at the end of the movie when Carol is up in space going all Super Saiyan and staring down Ronan and he decides to retreat, he says, "We'll be back for the girl." By the way, was anyone else really hoping she was just gonna say like, "wanna dance" or something?
What are you doing?
I'm distracting you, dude. Seriously, "we'll be back for the girl." What are you talking about, Ronan? Like, this is a situation where we, the audience, actually already know a lot more than you do. Like, we know in Guardians he's gonna die, and in like 2 minutes after he says that, we find out that Captain Marvel is in Endgame. So like, no, you don't go back for her. Who is this line for? It sounds like they're trying to set up the next movie, but they can't be. We already know what happens. He never gets the girl. Or does he? What if Ronan does make a return trip to Earth and does kidnap someone he believes to be Captain Marvel because they're actually a Skrull imitating her? More specifically, the little Skrull girl who made friends with Monica. Can't you just see that scene? Monica and Skrull girl are playing and she says like, "transform into Aunt Carol," and then she does, and then Ronan shows up and is like, "What's up?" Obviously he would win that fight because it wouldn't be the real Captain Marvel, but then obviously it would also be a huge disappointment for whoever he was delivering her to. Like, I don't know, Thanos? Like, Thanos thinks he's being delivered Captain Marvel, but instead he gets this little Skrull girl. What a massive disappointment. And who do we know is a massive disappointment to Thanos? Nebula.
Thanks, Dad.
And that might sound a little circumstantial, but don't worry, it gets better. The other little tidbit we know about Nebula's past is that she was raised alongside of Gamora. And Gamora, we also know, was taken by Thanos as a little girl. And guess what year he took Gamora? 1995, the same year Captain Marvel takes place, which would pretty much put that little Skrull girl at the same age as Gamora. See, it's a crazy twist because every time Nebula and Gamora fought as kids and Gamora won, Thanos would replace a part of Nebula, so she probably can't even transform anymore. Even her skin color is up for debate. And doesn't that just feel like the kind of misdirect they would throw at you? Like, you're looking for a Skrull, you're looking for someone to be transformed, but instead it's just Nebula hiding in plain sight, unable to transform. Yes, her Wikipedia page says she's a Lufamoid, whatever that is. It certainly hasn't been mentioned on screen and has only been mentioned once in a guidebook about Guardians of the Galaxy, so I feel like that's a very easy thing for them to adjust if they want to. And honestly, if it's Nebula, that just makes her backstory that much more tragic. If it's anybody else, then it kind of undercuts any character development they had and you're just like, oh, you weren't really them? But if it's her, she's been this way the whole time. And bear this in mind as well. At least in the comics, it's Nebula who finally gets the Infinity Gauntlet away from Thanos. And as far as the MCU goes, Nebula is often only as important to the story as she relates to Gamora. And I have to tell you, in Infinity War, Gamora is really important. If they reveal Nebula's backstory and it also then ties her to Captain Marvel, this new super being who's been fighting for the Skrull for the past 23 years, well, That's quite a recipe we have on our hands, folks. Ben, my question for you and everybody else is, what do you think? Who is the Skrull in disguise or else hiding in plain sight? Personally, I love the Nebula idea because it just adds so much tragedy to her backstory without taking away from anybody else. Let me know your thoughts in the towel section down below, and possibly even more importantly, how do you take your toast? You guys know we have tons of questions about Endgame, and if you want to find out the answers to all of them with us, well, now you can. We are hosting 4 meetups this year, one for Endgame, one for Toy Story 4, The Lion King, and Frozen 2. All the information should be on screen right now, and tickets are on sale. Links in the description down below. Guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, please remember to like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Marvel action from us. If you want to see Doctor Strange's entire plan explained, you can check out this video right here, or if you want to see our full spoiler review of Captain Marvel, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you in another life, brother.